Hello, my name is Ben Johnson, Assistant Director, Louisville Parks and Recreation, and welcome to our new show, Beyond the Bench. People think of parks and recreation and think of park benches, which is natural, but we do so much more than that, thus the title of our show, Beyond the Bench. We have aquatics, we have community centers, we operate Jefferson Memorial Forest, we have historic homes, we have a forestry division, and we also move snow. I want to give a shout out to our snow team that plowed or salted almost 4,000 miles of city streets during the latest storm. So again, those are the kind of things you're going to hear about on a monthly basis. So welcome to Beyond the Bench. So this episode makes sense to have our relatively new Executive Director, Michelle King, as my first guest. Very glad to have her, relatively, because she's still using a new tag a little bit, but it's been about 6 months. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you, Ben. Good to be here.
Why are you here? What made you decide Louisville Parks and Recreation is where I want to be?
Well, I had worked for Metro government for about 19 and a half years. That time was spent at the Air Pollution Control District.
The entire 19?
The entire time. I started just about this time of year in 2005.
Oh, okay.
So I had a few years under my belt there at the Air Pollution Control District and a real passion for environment and for my community. And when the mayor came to me with the opportunity to work for Parks and Recreation, it was simply something that I couldn't pass up. This is just such an amazing department, and there's really nowhere else in the city government that I think could have pulled me away from that time at APCD.
And you had a little bit of experience with us. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, we have, through the years, I had the opportunity to work on a lot of different issues, bringing air quality perspectives to them. So, of course, the kind of land and sustainability initiatives that parks have had through the years has brought me here and there in touch with you all. But shortly before my time here, I got the opportunity to start working with you all in the Wi-Fi in Parks initiative. And we put an air sensor in a park, the Alberta O. Jones Park, because of the Wi-Fi availability there. And so that was just another one of those opportunities for parks to make things like information and technology accessible to all of our community.
Okay, so you did that under APCD, and by the time Alberta O. Jones came online and all of that, you were still at APCD?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
But that is one of our new shining stars and gems. So
absolutely,
you
it's
get
an
credit
amazing
both
park.
ways.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. It's been great to see the good things that have been happening there at Alberta O. Jones Park, and there's a lot more to come. Working with the great partners at the Parks Alliance of Louisville, they're doing a lot of good things in the community there, and we're really happy to be partnering with them on that.
Well, you've been around long enough to be dangerous. So what do you see as some of your priorities for 2025?
Well, I think the top of the priority list is to continue maintaining our operational excellence. We have, at Parks, that's one of the many things I've learned since I've started there. I've really taken time over the last year to 2 years to look at the efficiencies in our operation and make some improvements. We have mowing cycles now that are on 11 days. That's amazing. We do so many things across different aspects of our department. Our urban forestry team is just a really well-oiled machine. They're very effective. So we want to maintain that. But we also then want to look for what are the next opportunities for us to continue to spread that kind of excellence through all of our operations. So I think that continued performance improvement will always be a goal for us, and so we have to keep that at the top of our priorities list. But then we also get to do some other big new things, trying out some new opportunities. We've got a master plan process that's about to kick off for Jefferson Memorial Forest, the nation's largest municipally owned forest. So that's a real gem here in Louisville, and we want to make sure that we've got a great, clear vision for a future that can make that a regional draw and really enhance the communities that surround the forest as well. So we're excited about that. We've got Baxter Community Center opening back up. Very excited about that. We've got 2 new pools opening in the coming year. We've got the or reopening. They're completely refreshed. They're new pools. There's brand new at the Algonquin Park and at Camp Taylor Park. So we're really excited about that. That's something that hasn't happened for, I think, decades here.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think you jumped ahead on one of my questions about what were you most excited about. You rattled off a few of those.
I'm excited about 2025.
Right.
I'm just really looking forward to the year ahead. This past 6 months has been a whirlwind. There's been so much to learn. You know, you said in your opening about so many aspects of Parks and Recreation that people aren't familiar with. There's even more. I learned something new about our department, about the work we do, about our people every single day. And I hope that doesn't stop.
I've been here a few years, and it does. Sometimes you'll just be talking, like yesterday we had a wonderful, or recently we had a wonderful all-employee meeting and celebration, and just walking around talking to folks and you asking them what they do, and you learn things.
Yeah,
So
that
trust
was
me,
so
that'll never
much
stop.
fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Seeing more than 250 Parks and Recreation staff all under one roof and just having some great fellowship together.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
And recognizing people who had been here up to 30 years,
Yeah.
and a lot of self-nominated awards. It was a really good feeling, and I felt like the team really enjoyed it. So that was,
I know
that
I
was
did,
great. Yeah,
so.
so did I. And then you mentioned forestry. They help out in these major storms as well. These are the people that can literally get a call at any hour of the day or night, because tree limbs have to be removed for any number of reasons, blocking right-of-ways, dealing with power lines and so forth. So a lot of people don't realize, which is why we're going beyond the bench. There's more to it than cutting grass and playing basketball.
Right. And not that there isn't some essential functions in cutting grass and playing basketball. But yeah, we do so much more. And, you know, speaking of that, you know, kind of daily maintenance, that's really kind of the bread and butter of our parks department.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
There's so much behind the scenes that keeps our parks just available and accessible to our community. And then there's the work to what's next. So, you know, we have people looking at today while still keeping an eye on tomorrow, and that's what's really inspiring when you work at Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I think we're one of the few departments where everybody should be able to go home that day feeling good about something they accomplished, whether you work with a kid, whether you cleaned up a park, whether you cut grass and realize, oh, there might be a family out here this weekend having a reunion or what have you. The guys and gals in the maintenance shops and making sure the people that do that, you know, can do that.
I think that's been
It's fun.
one of the coolest things about hearing people talk about our parks in our community centers. I have heard since I started this job, you know, people have come up to me and talked to me about, oh, how's it going? What's the new job? And they'll tell me what park is their park. Really, people really identify with the parks that are maybe in their neighborhood, or the one that they visit the most. And that tells me that's really part of their life. For people tell me, oh, I was a community center kid. That tells me that was part of their life. I received an awesome letter within the first couple weeks in my position from a woman who just described how she went to parks as a kid and what part that played in her development as the person that she is now, and how it made her a part of that community. And it really, I keep that letter on my desk because it's just a great reminder that what we do makes a difference in people's lives, and it really improves our community. And that should always be our guiding star.
Interestingly, the next guest on today's show is a community center kid. So I love how you set that up. Now, still good news, but what did you say? Still can be a positive conversation, but what do you see as some of our bigger challenges for 2025?
Well, I think a challenge in this year, and it's not a new one, and it won't be an end in this year, but that's trying to find all of the resources possible to bring to bear to our Parks and Recreation system. That it certainly includes funding through our city budget. We've had great support in this last couple of years through budget funding. But that also means working with our partners in the community to bring their resources into our parks and community centers, whether that's through capital projects or programs that are filling those spaces with our neighbors and families and friends. Those are all resources that we have to actively go out and seek out. Maybe it's creating sponsorship opportunities, but every time that we can bring either dollars or people and their programs into our spaces, we're able to serve that much more of our community.
Right, and people, I hope they understand, individuals and organizations, that we have partners big and small. We have major corporations, and you'll be hearing about us, you'll be hearing from us about some sponsorship opportunities that we're putting together. But we also have community partners, that some of whom base their operations out of our community centers. But what that does, it utilizes more of our space. It's a benefit to us, it's a benefit to them, and most importantly, it's a benefit to the community. So those are some of the things that we really look forward to.
We have some community organizations that are just dedicated to supporting parks and our recreation spaces. We already mentioned Parks Alliance of Louisville and the great things they're doing at Alberta O. Jones. They're also working with us to reimagine some of our other parks for improvements. Of course, we've had a long-standing and really productive relationship with the Olmsted Conservancy as well. So, they support, I think there's 14 Olmsted parks, and they support those through philanthropic giving and through programming and actually boots on the ground maintenance in many of those spaces. And then we have Wilderness Louisville that is in support of Jefferson Memorial Forest and our natural areas. So we're really lucky as a community that we have those nonprofit partners that really just focus on advocating for and raising resources for our parks facilities here in Louisville. And I think that shows you how much the city values their park system.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. And we have, Robert Jameson Ministries and 2 Not 1 and St. George's, Fun for the Arts, Dare to Care. So we have a lot of Metro United Way, the Urban League. We have a lot of partners of varying sizes. Some do large projects, some do one-off projects. We're working on some stuff with KDF. So yeah, those partnerships and those partners make a huge difference. And we even have some former athletes who support some of our athletic endeavors and leagues and so forth. So
We're
I do
always
think that's a
more.
good sign about us. Yes.
Yes.
And we're always open to more. I have a sign on my desk that says, "Why not?"
Right.
So
Right.
let's just try to figure out how to make things work. Accessibility. What are we doing in terms of being more accessible to the community, to individuals? I know we're doing some things with language access, trying to do a better job there. Anything you want to highlight there?
Right. Well, one of the other things that I think is important for access for the community, and that's technology access. Our community centers have recently received some great upgrades in technology in the computer labs, new
And
computers.
IT did that, so they brought that to us. I want to thank Metro IT. Government does work
Metro
together.
Technology Services has been a great partner for
Great
us,
partner.
and I know they've been a big partner in the Wi-Fi for Parks initiatives. That's something that we wouldn't be able to achieve without them. So, working with those partners to bring those points of access into our community centers. I think we've also been really having an eye in the design of our parks amenities to making sure that those are physically accessible to more of our community. So we've got some great new playgrounds that have been opened. I know the Central Park playground is really very accessible to children of all capabilities, and I just think that that's something that will continue to make as a standard part of our park design.
Yeah, and some people don't realize you can kind of get a twofer with things as simple as curb cuts and making playgrounds more accessible, because a lot of times you generically think about maybe a person in a wheelchair, but that also helps the parent with a child in a stroller.
Absolutely.
That helps the seniors. And our 2 new pools are going to have some zero depth entry.
That's right.
And so again, we're very conscious of that, and it just works out well. We also do a lot of senior programming, specifically at Wilderness Road and some of our other centers. Another partner RCS with senior nutrition. So again, there's a whole lot more to doing what we do that most people realize. Like you said, you learn every day. I'm still learning. So it's a great place to work.
Yeah, we want everybody to be able to take advantage of these resources and really enjoy the spaces.
I guess last question. In terms of, you mentioned how great our system is, and of course we're biased, but that doesn't mean it's not true. We're accredited, we have a number of certified staff. Michelle can wave a magic wand, and we're doing this interview in 2026. What would be different? You're dreaming big.
That's a big question.
And it wasn't on the sheet I gave you.
No, it wasn't. That's a surprise. I like that. I think that our park system would have funding at the level that matches or exceeds the national average. I think that shows how important parks are to our community when they want them funded at that level, so that we can do great things like making sure that there is a park within a 10-minute walk shed of every person in Louisville. That's a really high bar, and it's not something that we're there at yet. We would have a national recognized outdoor recreation area at Jefferson Memorial Forest. Okay. We would have community centers that were built to be community centers, and would have all of the spaces for the flexible programming and the variety of services that our community centers provide to the neighborhoods that they occupy. I think it always comes down to having the resources to do all the things, and that includes funding, of course, but it also includes people. We would have a fully staffed and all of the positions needed to get the work done in order to meet our goals. And that can be a real challenge. So yeah, I think it comes down to having all of the resources in place. And if I could wave my magic wand, that would be happen tomorrow. Okay. Unfortunately, I have misplaced that magic wand, so we'll continue to do the work that we do to make sure that we're advocating for our parks, and we're advocating for our recreation programming, and we're finding those partners out in the community that are willing to help us get where we're going.
Great. Cool. So then I will already book you for this time next year. We'll roll the tape and see how well we did making
if
your
I find my
dreams
magic
come true.
wand.
If that magic wand just shows up. So again, great. So I'm Ben Johnson. Thank you to my guest, Executive Director Michelle King. This has been Beyond the Bench, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Bench. Ben Johnson, Assistant Director, Louisville Parks and Recreation. So my next guest is kind of fun. This well-dressed man is the definition of a community center kid. I know he looks a little old to be a kid, but once you're a community center kid, you're always a community center kid. This is Charles Chaz Bullard, Recreation Manager. And so we're going to talk about who he is, what he does, what he has done, and why he's here. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
How are you today?
I'm great. Great.
All
So I called you a community center kid. You didn't flinch. You know what that is.
It is what it is.
You wear it with pride.
Yeah.
What you said it is what it is.
Yep.
What is it?
So I was a kid in the community center playing ping pong, shooting pool, working with the staff.
How old?
How old? I was 16 when I first started going. I was kind of a late bloomer. The area town I grew up in actually didn't have community centers. It wasn't until I had my first girlfriend that I was introduced to a community center. So, but no, going in there, playing pool, being with some of the staff, going in there, just friendly competition, and kept drawing me back, kept going back.
So then you went from a community center kid to a community center adult. One of the things I love about your story, which I'm gonna let you tell, is how you got to where you are. So let's go backwards. What are you doing now? And then go backwards to what you've done that get you where you are.
Well, I'm currently the recreation manager, part of the recreation leadership team with you. And just going back, actually, before I became the recreation manager, I spent some time over in turf maintenance.
Right.
So whenever I was over there, I was over cemeteries, ball fields, maintaining grass, maintaining the cemeteries, doing indigenous burials, which is another great program that people don't think of when they think of
So
parks.
that's why we are Beyond the Bench. We'll deal with that at a later episode, but we actually manage cemeteries and do some indigent burials. But let's keep it up for today.
Right. So I spent several years over there. Before that, I did spend a brief time in the maintenance shops.
Okay.
Over them, and what we did in there is we actually maintained the parks, do the trash routes, keep the grass cut in all the parks, and all that. And then previous to that, I was actually a supervisor in a community center. I spent time as a supervisor at Douglas Community Center and at South Louisville Community Center. And then before that, I was community center. I was rec leader, rec
At a couple of
assistant
locations.
at a couple of them.
Right.
Park Hill, Newburgh, Douglas, Beachmont. Beachmont was home. But through
So
through
you've
all
had
that-
almost every position. Well, you haven't had mine, but I know you're coming
I haven't
for
had
me.
yours.
I know
no.
you're coming for me.
It's a joke, but it's kind of serious. But I'll wait till you retire. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So you and I have had some great conversations. Again, I love his story, love his professionalism and commitment. But when you left recreation, what did you tell me?
So I told you I'd be back.
And why did you leave?
I needed to branch out. I felt very stagnant in what I was doing. I felt like I was giving my all to the community, but I had a bigger goal. My goal is to one day be a director, hopefully for the city of Louisville. Got to start somewhere, whether it's a smaller community, whatever. But I feel like this was my calling. I felt that going all the way back to my first days walking in the community center. I was like, this is home. This is what I want to do. But with that, I can't just box myself in on the recreation side. There's a park side as well of parks and recreation. So I went over there. I got out of my comfort zone, got down, cut the grass, was weed eating. I got my spray license, started spraying. I did the burials. I actually worked side by side with the staff, learned their job, learned what to do. So that way, whenever I do get to that position of leadership, I'll have an ability to understand exactly what they're going through, what they need, and what we can do to be better. So, and I feel like I came back to recreation at a good time. Everything happens for a reason. Everything just kind of aligned where it was. And it was a good time to come back. And I'm really glad to be back where I am because since I've came back, I've been able to get my CPRP. I've re-enrolled in school to further my education so that way I can continue those steps to get to that spot.
Right, and I always admired the fact that you had some very clear and specific goals, and you've done what it takes to achieve those. A couple other things, you moved where the opportunities were, even within recreation. You didn't say, I didn't want to work with this person or I don't want to work in this community. The opportunity presented itself and you took advantage of it. And I don't know if you remember this, but you also told me because of the age of your children and what was going on in recreation in terms of the schedule and the hours, and you were coaching, you were like, I'm coaching everybody's kids but my own. And you said, so changing not only enhanced your professional development, it was better for your personal life at the time.
Yeah, it was. And at that time, I was working until 9 p.m. every night, 12 to 9, working every Saturday, several Christmas Eves, working until 9 o'clock, missing family activities. And I sacrificed that. It was part of the job, but I do have 3 kids at a younger age. So I did feel like I was raising everybody else's child. And my kids are active in other activities and other sports. And they're unfortunately, they're not growing up as community center kids. They're familiar with it. But they have their own activities and own events, and I was missing out on majority of those. So it was good to take that time, go over. It was a good 4 years, I believe. I left recreation, and I got to experience all that. And I'm blessed now to be able to come back and mix both.
Right.
My kids are active in sports. I'm still able to attend them. When they go to their church and do their activities, I'm able to go to those. And I'm able to still fulfill my job and do all my duties at work. And it's a good balance. It really is.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that those of us that work in recreation, like my job is 6 days a week, period, because we're open 6 days a week. But a lot of times some of our bigger events or some of our partner events take place on Saturday, and that's the fun part. I mean, it's 6 days a week, but it's fun stuff. You're going to events, you're seeing people enjoy themselves. We've done the walks, we've done the games, we've done the field trips, we've done things at the Yum Center. We've had people that come to us because they want to help our kids, young people do things. We do senior programming and talent shows and all kinds of things. But I don't think people realize how much dedication it takes to be in this profession and do it right. And you mentioned that. And we just had a celebration. We have people who've been in these roles 20 years, 25 years, which means their children have raised an adult. And also, you're now coaching kids and refereeing for kids that belong to your old kids in terms of when you were working in the community center. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's well. First off, it makes me feel old, but also there's a sense of just pride. When we go to events and I hear, "Hey, Coach Chaz, how's it going?" And they're adults, they're successful. Just recently, we were at the Derby Parade. We're lined up, about to be stationed. Police officer walks up, and it's one of the community center kids. "Hey, Coach Chaz, how's it going?" And it's like moments like that really affect me and let me know that I'm doing what I need to do. And because I've always told people, like, I always get asked, like, what's a good outcome to a program? What's a good outcome? What makes a program successful? And people want to hear, 50 people attended. That doesn't really matter to me at the end of the day. It's if I can affect one person. If one person gets something out of that, then I did my job. And that one person could turn to 2, could turn to 3. I ran into a kid at the gym, actually. I was at Crunch Fitness sitting in the sauna. He walks in. He's a lawyer now.
Right.
When I first met him, he was a kid that had just came over. He was a refugee. He was in Americana, living at Americana. I went over, asked him if he wanted to play football. He thought I was talking about soccer. We ended up playing flag football. His brothers came along, and one of his other brothers actually is now coaching. He's over at Spalding. And the youngest brother, he actually went on to play high school football, and now he's really big into crypto and trading, and it's very rewarding and self-fulfilling to see all these examples of what you can do just by being a positive role model.
Right, and like you said, you can't beat those stories. It's not about being president. It's not about being a millionaire. It's not about being a CEO. It's about helping young people, and we got seniors and adults, but helping people do the best they can, whatever that is, whatever they're willing to work towards, especially when they're young, helping them, achieve their dreams. We've done the college tours. We visited the schools. We're recruiting at events all throughout the community. We've done Derby Festival events, not just the parade, but the bed race. I mean, this is a fun job.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a fun job. So there's that. Ironically, when we just had the snowstorm, one of the administrators got a ride to work. Great provision by the city, and there was somebody who was Benton Ridge rookie, and it was another law enforcement officer. So we've done that. If there was something that you could see in the community centers, or wanted to tell people that haven't been in a community center about why they should participate, what would it be?
It's for you. A lot of people get the stigma that community centers are for the kids, and yes, that is a large part of our job. But we also have a center strictly for seniors, Wilderness Road. We have an adaptive and inclusive program out of Berrytown, and there's some pocketed throughout the other community centers as well. We have, if you like sewing, we have long arm sewing. We have, if you like glass making, making stuff out of pottery. We have a full art studio. We have satellite studios at Beachmont, at Sun Valley. Whatever you enjoy, we're probably doing in the community center, and you don't know that till you walk through the door. A lot of times they come in, they don't really know what they want, and that's fine, but it also gives us an idea of what we can do for the community. So that's why we're community centers. Is we're not just for the kids, we're for everyone. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. Great.
Your number one priority is sports in terms of job and goals, what you want to see come back. How are you making that happen?
So one thing that I loved growing through the system, I say growing up because I was a child, was the interactiveness between the centers with the sports that were going on. And inter-community center sports, this community center playing against another. So that's one thing I've really strived to bring back since I came into this position. And I think we have done a good job at that. We've finished several seasons up recently. But the goal of that is to develop that competition. And there should be a place for everyone. If you want to do something, there should be a place for you. And we have a lot of kids that they're not on their high school teams, and it's not because of their talent. It's because of their knuckleheads sometimes. But we give them that opportunity we give them that second chance. They can come to us. We can get them right. Because we can be more real with them than what they can in the school system. So we can help them out. We can get them on the team. We can get them some actual reps in. And the goal is the next season they're not playing for us because they made that school team. So that's really what my goal is to give a positive interaction with the youth so that way they can get out there, have some friendly competition, meet kids from other neighborhoods, and possibly use that in the future.
Great. I agree. So with that, we're going to wrap up this particular segment. This is the first show Beyond the Bench. You are the second guest. You are obviously the first staff person, first program person, so you shared a lot of good information about some things that people will be hearing about in the future. So I just want to thank Chaz Bullitt, community center kid, community center adult, future executive director somewhere in the country, if not this particular city. And see you back at the office.
Yeah, see you. Thanks, man.
All right.
All right.